Well, guys, here we are. Mr. Brian and Darren are not here today because they were busy doing a few other things before we get back together with the regular podcast. I've got something special that I wanted to do. We received a message, and I was actually out of town, and Brian sent this over to me, and he said, "Dude, you gotta take a look at this." And when I sat down and read this, we're always talking about Lawrence County and talking about crazy stuff, and usually we're cracking on schools and we're cracking on people, and and then trying to raise some serious issues with political races and things like that. But this kind of takes a whole different twist, guys. Today, after reading that message, I wanted to bring in a special guest, and I just said we got to do this now while this is still fresh and when you were ready to come out with this. I'd like to welcome in, and we're just going to call him Joe, just Joe from Lawrence County. Joe sent me a message, and this message that I got after I started corresponding with him, the story that he told was one that it's one of those things like you're sitting around listening to your grandma talk and telling these old stories and these folk tales. But he actually has some evidence, people. I know him in a roundabout way. I know he is a lifelong Lawrence County resident. I know his parents, and my parents said they knew his grandparents. So, some pretty good, reliable people, and I don't see any reason that this would be something he would just make up. So, what we're going to do is we're going to interview him today. I'm going to let him tell you the story, because I could sit here and read his message that he sent us, telling us the story and kind of why he wanted to come out now and tell this. But I think it would do a whole lot better for you guys to hear it directly from him, because it's if it does you the same way it did me, Brian and Darren, when we heard this, I think you're going to think twice about walking out into the woods or even taking your garbage out to the end of the road, because it was pretty horrific. I don't know what to think about it. So at this time, welcoming in, we're going with the 2-camera setup today. Joe has asked me to please blur him, and probably going to put a little tweak on his voice, because he doesn't really want to be identified with this story, because he does, not only is he an avid hunter, but like the rest of us, he's got a full-time job. And he doesn't want to, he doesn't want people running after him and asking all the crazy stuff. And it's kind of like when Joe, when people, talk about UFOs, and all the way back in the day when people would not report this stuff. They wouldn't report it. And especially like police officers and military people and airline pilots, they wouldn't report like UFOs and stuff. They didn't want to, because they didn't want to be identified with that stigma of making something up. And it ruined some people's careers after they reported that stuff. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome in Joe. Joe, thanks for coming in, man.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I need to get this stuff off my chest.
And you were telling us that the only person that you've ever told this to or showed this photo of is to your wife.
Yeah.
And how long you guys been married?
We've been married about 3 years now. But,
okay.
Yeah. I just told her not that long ago, actually, because I just couldn't. She's not one for scary movies anyway. So this was a little much for even her, but yeah, I feel like I found.
Yeah, after reading it, I think it was a little much for me.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I have not been back in that area since about a year and a half, about 2 years ago. Yeah,
2 years,
2 years now.
You were telling us that it happened 2 years ago during deer hunting season, right?
Yeah.
So you were out, were you gun hunting, bow hunting?
Yeah,
gun hunting.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've been hunting long time, Lawrence County?
Yeah, pretty much my whole life.
Yeah.
Me and my family all went out together, and we, like everybody in this area.
You And you said you were setting up like tree stands, and y'all had a certain area that you like to go to. I mean, like most people, they got 2 or 3 different hunting areas, but this one particular area, this is in Lawrence County, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm not going to say where because I don't want.
Yeah, he didn't
Yeah.
even tell me, Brian, or Darren where. He didn't tell the podcast crew where this place is because, I mean, Darren's probably crazy enough to go out there
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
and set up.
He's funny built enough.
Yeah, but anyway, go ahead and just kind of get into it and tell us, like, okay, so you set the scene 2 years ago. You're going out hunting. You know, were you in a tree stand? You were or on the ground? I mean, kind of give us a story.
I was in a tree stand, and I'd got up there early that morning, and I'd had a little bit of trouble with that stand. It was an older one, but anyway, I got out there, and I usually check my cams after I get done for the day. So I got out there and it was still dark out when I first got up there, but I could see right along the trees. I could see a little bit of light coming up, and I could hear just stuff around me. But the wind was blowing a little bit, but not enough to really move the leaves around on the ground. And so I was hoping, that I'd be able to be a good morning because it was fairly still. And I was bundled up because it was freezing out that morning. But you have to forgive me if I get a little sidetracked. Just thinking about it
I know,
kind
right?
of shakes me up still.
I'm sure.
But we got up there and I was watching. There was a couple of does. They were working their way up a tree line. Coming up a green field, and I was just starting to be able to really get to see well, and because it was real misty because all the dew on the ground. But they froze like they heard something. I knew it wasn't me because that tree stand had been, you move a little bit, and that old one would cause rackets. I knew I had to be still up there, but they froze like they'd heard something, and
Which is typical for deer. I mean,
yeah.
Deer are skittish anyway. I mean,
but they, tails went up, heads went up. I wasn't making no noise. And I was listening too. I thought it might have been, coyote or something. Just something spooked them. But they went back to feeding, and I just kept on watching them. And they seemed skittish, but about 50 yards out from me. And from my left, I thought I saw something out of the corner of my eye. And so I just, as slowly as I could, not to make any noise, I moved over, and through my scope I could see there was this, like a guy. I don't know what else to tell you.
And what you saw when you turned and looked through the scope, like how far was it away? Without the scope, how far was this thing that you saw?
Oh, probably 60 yards away, if I had to guess. But it was walking
toward you and the deer.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, kind of at an angle.
And the deer were 50 yards on the other side of you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, I was looking through, and I kind of saw some motion on my
Now
on the left side.
So just to set the scene, the deer were standing on the edge of a green field, and you were right on the edge of the woods.
Yeah.
But you seen this thing? Was he in the green field or was he in the woods?
He was farther in the woods.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to your left.
Yeah,
Okay.
back to my left.
Gotcha.
And like I said, it was just walking slowly. I wouldn't say that it was.
And you just thought it was another hunter.
Yeah, I thought it was another hunter that
Yeah.
might not have had colors on or
Right.
something.
Right.
And because people are always running from game wardens and everything else on other people's land.
Nobody buys a license in Lawrence
Yeah,
County. Job security.
Yeah. But you gotta duck and cover when somebody's truck runs by. But yeah, it just kept walking towards us, and the deer stopped responding. And I was like, well, surely surely they hear it. Surely they see it or hear it or something. But it, like I said, it looked like a guy. I thought it was another hunter, and it was kind of a brownish color. I thought he might have been wearing some, some fall camo, whatever. And I didn't hear a thing.
You didn't hear it walking?
No,
Okay.
because I was afraid I was going to scare the deer away when I was going to the tree stand because there was so many leaves on the ground.
So you're looking at it through the scope.
At first, I saw it out of the corner of my eye, but yeah,
then
I, as slow as I could, not to,
Right.
not to spook nothing. I thought about yelling out because, like I said, I thought it was another hunter.
But you got two deer working their way up
Yeah,
to you.
exactly. Yeah, I'm
You
trying to spoil
thinking,
nothing.
you thinking meat in the locker.
Yeah. But yeah, I got some jerky to make. I can't, Anyway, this thing it just kept walking toward kind of in between me and the deer, and then I don't know if it saw the deer or whatever. It didn't see me, thank God. But it wasn't making any noise walking through the leaves, and it got a little closer, and the deer had moved up probably 35, 40 yards from me now. And they just...
So it's working its way around behind you?
Yeah.
To get between, so it would be closer to the deer.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
So it's behind you now. Or you can...
It had moved.
And you told me earlier, you said you were like, you didn't know whether to turn left or right to catch the glimpse of where it had worked around behind you.
Yeah. And I was trying to be as still as I could because at this point I'm thinking maybe this is not another hunter.
Well, you could think that if somebody were walking, you would hear them.
Exactly. The deer would at least.
Yeah, and be able to pick up where they were in relation to behind you on this side with this ear or that ear. I mean, anybody who's hunted before, even if it's a squirrel 20 yards away,
you hear it running through the
you can pick up where that squirrel is about that time. Yeah, I got you.
And I had no idea where this thing was. I started wondering, what's this thing under the tree? And then I gave it a few more minutes, and this thing walked out from under my tree stand towards these deer. I'm glad I used the bathroom before I went hunting.
So you see this thing moving, and you don't even, you still don't hear it, but
still no sounds.
Silence. And it's moving toward the deer.
Yes, from under my tree stand.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, from like the right-hand side of my tree stand.
So you're that close to it.
Yes.
What did it look like? The description you gave me earlier was pretty bone-chilling.
I know. Like I said, when I first saw it out the corner of my eye, it had kind of a brownish color. This thing was at least 7 feet tall.
Wow.
Had to have been. And its skin was like, if you can call it skin,
was it hair or
no hair. It was completely bald, but it was like shiny.
Wow.
Like it was glistening, and it could have been the dew on it, but it looked like the skin was like raw.
Wow.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah. And from this close, from right under me, it did not walk naturally. Like it was very sharp movements, very jarring.
So there wasn't
jerky almost.
Oh, so like but there was no actual contact that you heard with the ground still.
None.
Yeah. That's what I didn't understand.
I know.
I was trying to get this mental picture when reading your story, and I just, I couldn't fathom. That's why I wanted to get you here and ask you these questions, because I'm still trying to put into my mind what this looked like. Now, needless to say, we do have some trail cam evidence, and that's what makes this so. That's the only reason that we got you in here. Anybody can make up a story, but when somebody comes with evidence that matches the story, and look, you can call Joe here full of SHI, whatever. You can say he's full of crap, or but personally, when you meet this guy and you hear his story and you watch him tell this story, to go along with the evidence that he's got, I'm telling you guys, it's pretty compelling. There's a lot of telltale signs when people are telling you a lie. They look away. They are skittish. There's a lot of jerking around and shifting in their seat and things like that. He's told me this story before the show, and then he's reading the other story that he sent me. But when you just meet somebody and hear the story for yourself, I'm going to tell you it's very believable. But go ahead. I'm sorry for breaking in there.
No, that's all right.
So we're at the point where it's come out from under the tree. You described what it looked like. You still don't hear it. Now, this is the horrific part.
Yeah.
This is what kind of shook me, and I know it's kind of hard for you to tell.
This thing, just this part of the story that I've said so far is enough to creep most hunters out.
Mm-hmm.
Most anybody,
So this thing's upright.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Like up until this point, I thought it was a person.
Right.
This thing got about 10 yards away from these deer.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still eating. I've never seen nobody get that close to a deer.
Wow.
And this thing kneels down and just jumps a clear 10, 15 yards onto these deer.
I'm telling you, when you told me that, just the visual that popped in my head was enough to send chills. Wow.
Jamie,
I can't imagine sitting there and watching this, man. You were watching this firsthand.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm thinking.
Okay,
oh my God.
now the question that people's got right now is, okay, you got a gun in your hand. Why didn't you just pull up and shoot this thing?
This thing was so.
I know.
So fast.
I know the real reason is because of sheer and utter fear.
Oh yeah, I was frozen.
Dude, I've seen a 12-point walk out in front of me, and I couldn't even pull the rifle up. So if a 12-point can scare you like that
Yeah.
and give you that little pause to wait, like, oh my God, I can't believe what I'm
Yeah.
seeing, I can imagine what you were going through.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the deer, this thing jumps onto the deer.
Yes, it jumps onto the closest one. The other one bolts immediately. Mm-hmm. And y'all, I watched this thing pull this part of deer with its hands.
Wow. So it just attacked it and
yeah.
pulled it apart.
I mean, that doe screamed for a couple seconds and it was over.
Wow. That's crazy, man. So,
I watched it.
So did it sit there and feed on this thing?
Yes. It sat there and kneeled over this dead doe and just.
Never seen you.
No, I was not making. I was holding my breath.
Wow.
And I was praying to God that old tree stand didn't make no noises.
So you're and we're still talking about. I mean, is it more daylight or more dark still? Is it which one?
I mean, it's dawn. It's.
But it's still kind of dark outside, or is it sun come up, or?
There's definitely some sunlight that I can see.
So you were seeing this,
yes,
with the light.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this was not like a mountain lion that I had.
Yeah,
that
that's what I was
see.
thinking.
Yeah,
I
no,
wanted
absolutely not.
Yeah. So you seen an upright creature.
Yes.
Okay, and you described it pretty well. I mean, I don't have to go back and put you through that again. But so you saw this thing, and then you're sitting here watching this thing partake of an animal that you were out hunting for.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and like you said, why didn't I? At this point, why didn't I think to shoot it? I watched that thing jump
Right.
15 yards. I don't think this tree stand's gonna keep me safe.
Yeah. Right.
So I just sat there, and it only took maybe, it felt like forever trying to hold my breath and not make any noise, but probably 2 minutes, 3 minutes at most. And it had completely disemboweled this deer. And I heard something off near the green field, over to my right. And I don't know if it was a truck or what it was off on the road, but whatever this thing was heard it because it stopped and looked up. And then as it walked away, I could hear it in the leaves.
Really?
Yes.
So you heard it
Yes.
leaving, but
Yes.
on its approach, no sound.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Which made me think it had to have been hunting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like it was in predator mode.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, we've all seen those movies.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not trying to freak you out or anything, but you're pretty freaked out enough.
I'm thinking get to the chopper.
Yeah. So this thing, I mean, you saw it leave. Where did it go?
Yeah,
Back
it
into the
just-
woods, or
It just kind of loped off back.
are we
into the woods.
talking now? I'm not trying to get details on like how close or how far, but are we talking? Were you like close to the national forest? Like a lot of people hunt there. I mean, we're not talking a small scope of woods like in the middle of town somewhere, are we? I mean,
No.
I don't want to know the location, but
No,
we're
no.
talking this thing. Did it have an area to go back into
It did.
that's very remote?
It did.
Yeah, you told me that
It's-
earlier.
Yeah, it's not. If you're in town, you don't have to worry about
Yeah.
something like that.
So
Hope.
I don't know, but anyway, so we're this thing. So how in the world did you get out of there, and how long did you wait?
The only reason that I was able to get up and go is because I was starting to cramp up,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew that I was going to be making sound anyway by getting up and moving.
How long was it before you decided that you needed to go?
Well, I wanted to leave immediately, but the only reason that I felt safe to get up and go is because I'd been there for about 20 more minutes after I saw this thing just head off in a straight line back into the woods. And from way off, I heard this sound, just this screaming sound. You know, you hear about the white thing, sleep thing, whatever.
Yeah, old
It
folk
wa-
tales.
Yeah, it wasn't like that. People say it's like a girl screaming or like a horse, horse crying out. It was so low and deep.
And this is after it had left your area.
Yes, yeah, and that's like I said. That's
So
the only
you
reason I
thought that
felt
was this thing making a noise?
had to have been.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been anything else. Nothing like I've ever heard in my life.
And it was far enough away where you thought, "Hey, this is my time. I gotta go."
Yeah, so I can book it. I left the trail cams, left the tree stand, left everything. All I had was my backpack and my rifle, and I got back to the truck and headed back to town. And then a couple of days later, I went and got my cameras with 5 buddies of mine. Because I was
I
not
thought that
going
was
back
funny.
by myself.
I thought that was funny when you told me that. It was like I was waiting on you to get to the point to where you were like going to tell me. I'm like, okay, how'd you get this footage back out them
Yes.
trail cams? And when you that was what you told me. Like me and 5 of my buddies went back and got them.
Yeah. Wasn't going back alone.
That's wild. So when you retrieved the trail cams, you got these pictures that we're about to show. That's what you got off of the trail cams, and you think those were captured? You told me what, the night before?
Yeah, I believe they were the night before.
With
And-
because they got the time and date stamp on them.
yeah. And if I'd have seen them, I probably still would have gone hunting. But because, I mean, you know,
Well, you don't-
without an experience like
You don't
that,
know.
you don't know what it
Yeah.
is.
I mean, that could have been anything
Yeah.
on that thing. I mean, and to me, it looks like a freaking person.
Yeah.
You know, there's one that we're going to show here of this thing apparently kneeled down.
Yeah.
And who's to say this wasn't a person?
Right.
On this trail cam.
Right.
There's something kneeled down, and then in the next shot, this thing is in an upright position.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they looked to be about 3.5, 4 minutes apart.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, on that timestamp,
Yeah.
you were telling me about that. So those were taken the night before.
yes.
Yep. And then the next day is when this happened to you.
Yeah.
No chance this was some type of a local predator, like a bobcat or.
See, that's what I thought too, but I've had my run-ins with them through the years.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
not. No, this thing.
Any other sign? Anybody else seen anything like this that you know of out hunting?
I mean, every hunter's got a scary story.
Got a scary story, but
But nothing like this. No.
yeah, to go along with the proof, the evidence that you got, and I don't know, people make up their own mind, I guess.
Yeah.
And
The thing that gets me is that had it stayed away from me, even with the no noise, even with the trail cam pictures, had it not come right underneath me with no sound,
That's
what got me.
You told me that earlier. That was, and that's one of the things that run the chills up my spine. How can you not hear it when it's hunting and then hear it after it's like, okay, I'm done. I'm walking away.
Sounded like a dude running off in the woods.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy. Joe, can't thank you enough, man. This has been awesome. I understand the reasoning that you have for telling people the story and not giving the location, because I mean there's crazy enough people, and not just in Lawrence County, but there's crazy enough people everywhere that would want to go and destroy this area and set up their own trail cams and stuff. Last question: have you ever been back to the area and set up any more trail cams trying to capture footage or anything else again?
No, I haven't. I haven't felt comfortable back in that area.
No, I can't say that I blame you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We might go set some up.
Well, if you do,
it's been long enough.
Well, if you do, let us know. But I don't know. You got bigger kahunas than I do. Joe, thanks again. Ladies and gentlemen, just leave comments, whatever you think. Hit us up on our Facebook page, or you can also leave comments here on the YouTube channel underneath. I mean, Joe's a good guy. I mean, call BS if you want to call BS, but with the picture evidence and the story, and the biggest thing I got to say again is to reiterate, when you sit here and you see this guy basically shaking, telling this story and trembling, I mean, this guy's like, what are you, about 6'2", 240? I mean, he's not a small guy, but a skinless, a hairless creature, 7 feet tall, lurching 10 to 15 yards for a deer, and watching it disembowel it and devour some of it right in front of you in Lawrence County, people. I mean, that'd be enough to make anybody tremble. Anyway, thanks again.
Yes,
hey,
sir.
Thank you, Joe. And if you get any more evidence, won't you hit us back up? Take care, guys, and we'll be back in maybe a few days with another podcast for you. Thanks a lot.